Well, with us right now from GRF is their board treasurer, Diane Phelps. Good to see you, Diane.
Nice to see you.
Nice to have you. Appreciate you coming in today. And we're going to just go over a few different things today that goes on in finance. And one of the things is the banking services, and you use Bank of America, right?
Right, we use Bank of America. I think people probably notice if they ever have to have a chargeable service, or if they actually send in with a coupon their monthly assessment, that the money goes up to LA. And I've been asked, you know, why is that? We're in Laguna Woods, we don't collect our own money. But in fact, we have Bank of America process our checks for us. And so that's why the money, the checks go up there. And but in fact, any phone number that's attached to any coupon or any sort of bill, that's always a local Laguna Woods number. So you always talk to somebody here, but in fact our banking is done with B of A. And yeah, there are all sorts of other services. And yesterday at the GRF finance meeting, we had a list of them. So if anyone wants to look online, they can get that. If they want to pull up our agenda, I think that'll be attached to the agenda. But,
and you bring up a good point because people are probably wondering why if we send a check in.
Right, they're like, well, yeah, you can't. But in fact, right, it's cheaper for it. It gets, we have access to the money quicker and stuff. So, right, it's part of their service is that they actually process the checks for us.
Okay, if they ever have a question, maybe they sent a check in and maybe they don't notice it's been debited from their account as quickly as they thought it might be. Who would they call?
Usually they'll be getting a bill from somebody that says, hey, you didn't pay your assessment. And that'll have a local number on it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's resident services might be the first contact, and then if they understand that's the kind of problem it is, then they'll go ahead and forward it over to accounting. But yeah, so just resident services is usually who you talk to, but you definitely don't talk to Bank of America. None of the, we just don't, right. Yeah, if we have troubles, it's always local.
Very good. All right, let's get on to the financial statements now. And of course, every meeting there is, you show the slides for the finances. And this time of the year, of course, you're kind of looking back, but you're looking forward as well.
So usually, this month was sort of a funny month because we didn't, we have our GRF finance meetings every other month. And this month, I'm actually going on vacation, so we scheduled a little earlier, and so we didn't get new financial statements. It's the same April financial statements that we talked about at the last GRF meeting. And one of the things, so what we did instead was we looked a little deeper into the reserves. So we explained a little bit of what we're doing, because we have a new slide with reserves, a new computation that we're showing people, and it's the unencumbered balance of our reserves. Okay. And so, because everyone always wants to know, well, just how much money do we have? And that's never quite an easy question. It changes every day. It'll change.
Right.
So, just in a general sense, when you make your payment, pay your assessment, part of it goes to GRF, and some of that we use on operating expenses, like mowing. For GRF takes care of amenities, so like we would mow the lawn at the clubhouse, that kind of things. But part of it also goes into reserves, and that's for things that are more long term, or capital items, like putting on a new roof or painting one of the clubhouses, that kind of thing. And so what we always used to do was all we would show especially in the GRF meeting, is we would just show bottom line. Here's what we have sitting in reserves. But the money in reserves includes work in process, like if when they were working on Clubhouse 2, all that money still sat in reserves. But in fact, some of it had already been spent. Yeah. And so this new unencumbered balance that we're showing what it tries to do is show all the money that comes in, and then how much of it we already have appropriated to other projects. It's either already been spent or to be spent in the future. And so that's why we're coming down to what we think is closer to a bottom line figure for people.
Okay, so the unencumbered reserves there have not been delegated.
Right. Right. Because in addition to your assessment going into reserves, we also have the transfer fee that comes into reserves. And so, so when we always try to maintain a balance of at least $6.5 million. That's I think what our budgeted, that's our reserve balance that we always
Right.
make sure we have. And I think at the last meeting we were at about $12 million. So,
Okay. So it's,
we're
I think
doing
it's
okay.
great that you're showing that.
It's,
because
you know,
it kind of gives a more realistic total, doesn't
yeah,
it?
well, it does.
Or how it's being allocated, I should say.
Somehow I think the truth is really between the two, because in fact what happens is this sort of assumes that we would spend all this money as of today, and clearly we wouldn't. You know, we really have more than $12 million. It's just that we've earmarked it for other things.
Yeah.
And so somewhere between the 35 million, which is the book balance, and the $12 million, you know,
Right.
yeah. So that's what's a little.
You know, it's no different than a person who has a certain amount of money in their checking account, and they look at that amount, but then they have to think,
Exactly.
well, remember, this is going to my car payment, this is
Right.
going to this and that. I really don't have this free money to
Right.
spend here. I have this much.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. It's the same concept. So.
Now, let's talk about another topic that has been brought up just recently, and this is about GRF projects when they are earmarked to be below a certain number, and that number is 500,000 or
Right.
499.
Right.
And so the topic really is, when do things get approved by the mutuals? And I know that just recently somebody was talking about that in one of the meetings, I think possibly in the United meeting.
Yeah, I think Pat mentioned that.
Yeah, so if you could go over that a little bit, and is this something that you're still kind of looking at?
This is this is something we're just looking at. In fact, it didn't
Okay.
even come up yesterday in
Yeah.
our finance meeting. And so I think that's certainly something. I think we're looking to staff to make a recommendation and
Okay.
to come up with a policy for that. But right at this point, we know what the bylaw says, but we
Right.
we haven't worked out the details on it. So I assume that since we now are in budget season, in fact, at 9:30 this morning we have our first
Yes.
GRF capital plan review.
Yeah.
So, and it's open to anybody that wants to come. It's 9:30, I assume, in the boardroom.
It is in the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
that's something that over the years has been kind of an ongoing topic between, I hate to put it between the mutuals and GRF, but that's really what
Right.
it is. So it's still being looked at and coming up, and a plan being made.
well, because, and also
Yeah.
staff has, our staff here has a lot, they don't just do stuff for GRF, they
Right.
do stuff for each of the housing mutuals as well.
Yeah.
And so, right, they get pulled in a lot of different directions, and I think this sort of helps coordinate that a bit.
Yeah,
But.
exactly.
So the only other thing I'll mention is our next meeting of the Finance Committee, GRF Finance Committee. It is August the 23rd at 9:30. And I think we have a couple of important topics we're discussing next time. One is twice a year we have our investment firm, the BlackRock Merrill Lynch
Yeah.
team is in. And so they'll give us an idea of, or a state of our portfolio, the second quarter review. And they also do the same thing at the same meeting. They'll also talk about United and Third and I believe the towers as well. And so they're going to be there, and that's why the meeting's at 9:30, so we can accommodate them. And then the other, we're having someone who works for VMS, Dan Yost, who takes care of
Sure.
all of our insurance. And so he'll explain what sort of insurance the village has, and he also will mention what kind of insurance perhaps a homeowner might want to get.
That's a good one,
And
yes.
so, because people are always asking, because what exactly do they have to insure versus what does the village insure? That kind of thing. Who has earthquake insurance? Who doesn't? And so, right. So there's
Good topic. Yeah.
So
definitely.
anyhow, so he'll be there, and he always just has a lot of information if anybody wants to come and ask him some questions.
All right, very good. So keep in mind, if you're watching us in the morning and you want to get to the Capital Review, the 2018 Capital Review meeting, you're all welcome. It's an open meeting. That's at the boardroom at 9:30 today. And of course, we'll keep you posted on the budget season here, because
Right.
there'll be open budget meetings in addition to your regular
Yes,
finance
for sure.
meeting. So we'll let everybody
Right.
know about
Okay.
those, because they're, for the most part, at least the first half of them are usually open.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good to
All right.
see you.
Nice to
Thank
see
you
you.
very much. You take care, and we'll be right back.